Republican candidate for governor Vivek Ramaswamy rolled out his plan to, quote, crush Medicaid fraud in Ohio today. He says the state could save billions by cutting waste, fraud, and abuse. That could then help lower health care costs for Ohioans. His proposal comes on the heels of reporting by the conservative Daily Wire of alleged home health care fraud in Ohio. Republican gubernatorial candidate Vivek Ramaswamy rolled out his plan to combat Medicaid fraud, waste, and abuse in a room filled with Republican leaders, supporters, and reporters.
We're going to go so fast, the fraudsters won't know what hit them.
He says he'll make prosecuting Medicaid fraud a top priority from day one if elected governor.
When you have criminals, fraudsters, thieves, claiming money for themselves, it diverts money away from those for whom these programs were intended.
Ramaswamy's three-point plan includes simplifying the Medicaid bureaucracy because Medicaid payments currently flow through 10 state agencies. Also, making a deal with the federal government to allow Ohio to keep more of the $4.7 billion he estimates it could save through cracking down on fraud, waste, and abuse. That's 10% of the $47 billion expected to be spent on Medicaid for more than 3 million Ohioans next year.
That's $3.1 billion more that goes in the pockets of Ohioans through copay assistance, through bringing down health insurance premiums, through other plans that we have, through expanding the value of health savings accounts.
In a statement to 10 TV, Democratic gubernatorial candidate Amy Acton's campaign blamed what it calls rampant corruption in Ohio's State House for allowing waste, fraud, and abuse for far too long. Spokesperson Addie Bullock said, as governor, Dr. Amy Acton will prioritize rooting out Medicaid fraud, waste, and abuse while ensuring that Ohioans can access affordable, quality health care. Ramaswamy says he has already had preliminary talks with the head of the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, Dr. Mehmet Oz, about working with the federal government to allow Ohio to keep more of the fraud savings. Of course, all of this is if he wins the race for governor. Now, just yesterday, Governor DeWine signed an executive order dealing with Medicaid fraud. He says it will allow the Ohio Department of Medicaid to immediately implement emergency rules aimed at cracking down on high-risk providers. The rules include requiring those providers to validate their enrollment more often. The state can also now terminate providers who haven't billed or provided services in more than a year.